Hello and welcome to another episode of this podcast. I'm excited to be here and share some of my thoughts, ideas and experiences with you to help you grow your business in a way that works for you. So without further ado, let's have a listen. Now today I'm going to be talking about managing our workloads and hopefully being a little bit more productive, feeling like we get more things done in our business and throughout the day. Feel like we're not always rushing. We're not always stressed about getting everything done. We're not always looking at our to-do list and think, oh gosh, I've got lots of things to do yet today and time is ticking on. I want us to be more balanced in our approach to business and life and feel like we're in control, but feel like we are being productive and getting all the things done that we need to do in our business so that we can then take time away from outside our business to spend time with friends, family, children without that feeling of guilt. So today I'm going to be talking about managing our workloads, about what I tried for myself in March and I've continued to do in April, and it's worked for me. So I wanted to share that with you. As I say, I want us to be more productive, focused. I want us to achieve more in all our businesses, but make sure that we have some balance along the way to our days, to our weeks and to our months. Now I'm going to be talking first off about the normal time blocking technique. You've probably heard me talk about it on this podcast or in my groups if you're part of that, and also about a technique that is widely used to manage your daily tasks as well, the Pomodoro technique. So before I go into what I did in March and I've done in April, I just want to remind you about those two techniques. So first off, if we talk about the traditional way of time blocking your daily and weekly tasks. So this basically, in summary, in the way that I describe it anyway, is you create a list of all the tasks that you want to complete in that week and you assign them to certain time slots of the day. I would start off by writing down all the tasks that I want to complete that week. And then in a calendar, whether or not it's on your phone or your iPad or your desktop or an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook, whichever one it is, in your calendar, block out all the times in that week that you already have your appointments scheduled in. So your work appointments, meetings, school pickups, that sort of thing. Basically, your unavailable and non-negotiable times of when you're not available. What you're left with then are the gaps of when you do have available time that you can work through, and then you can put those tasks on your list that you need to go back to and put them into those available times. So what you normally do there is go through the task list of things that you want to get done in your business, prioritize them and move them into those gaps of free time when you've got availability in your diary. What you often find is that maybe you have a 30-minute or a 60-minute time to work on each of those tasks in between your appointments and activities. Now, this works for a lot of people, and I know a load of people use this technique all the time, and it definitely works for them because it means that you are productive and you do go and slot in those tasks that you need to get done. I can sometimes find that I always feel a bit like I'm running around, that I'm chopping and changing from this task and that task. And it works for sometimes, but it didn't work for me all the time. The next technique I want to go through is the Pomodoro technique. I always pronounce it wrong. The Pomodoro technique was developed by Francesco Torello in the 1980s. And basically, it's a more structured way to manage your time. Now, you can find loads of information on the internet about this. But just to summarise, the main part of the technique that people know about that I want to tell you about today is where you work on specific tasks in small bite-sized periods of time. So, similar to the other one, you'd have your to-do list and you select one task that you work on solidly without any distractions for 25 minutes. You then take a structured 5-minute break. So no matter what you're doing, you take a 5-minute break after 25 minutes. You complete that cycle for another 3 times, and then you take a longer break. So you do 25 minutes, 5 minutes break, and you complete that cycle 3 times before you then have a longer break. Now, the idea here is that because you're focused for a very small amount of time, the 25 minutes, you can be more productive, you don't go off onto tangents, you don't get overwhelmed, and you get through your to-do list a lot quicker. I'm sure lots of you have heard of that technique and perhaps do a combination of that and the time blocking technique as well. So those are the two things that often people talk about when they talk about managing your time, being productive. I tried those weekly blocking out the times, and I tried doing the small bite-sized chunks of time, but I haven't been able to stay on track before I got sidetracked. I lost my focus. I went down social media rabbit holes, as you do. You go onto Facebook for something, or Instagram, or LinkedIn, or whatever it is, Google, and you get scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and before you know it, half an hour has gone by. And what that made me feel was that I wasn't being productive. I wasn't getting through everything that I wanted and needed to do. And as I said before, I felt that my days were a bit more haphazard and they felt all over the place because I was swapping from this task, and then I'd go on to this task, and then I'd go on to that task, and half an hour later I'd do something else. And I just felt a bit like I was going mad, and everything was going round and round in circles. In March, I decided to try a different technique. I needed a way where I felt I was more in control, and that maybe if I did lose focus for a while, and go down a social media rabbit hole, that I could get back on track a lot easier and still manage to get through all my priority as well as my nicer to have goals and activities. I needed something that would mean that I would feel less overwhelmed, less worried or anxious that I had loads to do because my to-do list was huge. Generally, so that I felt calmer and I felt more balanced. So in March, I tried a new way for me. Now, what I'm going to talk about isn't groundbreaking, but it works better for me. And so I wanted to share that with you on this podcast today as maybe an alternative to the 2 ways above. Or heaven forbid, if you just have a full list of all your to-do lists and all your tasks without any structure or organisation. Now, I've been there as well. I do love a list. I love having all my lists, but when I had it where it was just a huge list without any structure, organisation or planning, it never ended well for me. It worked well for about a day, and then it was chaos after that. So in March, I tried something a bit different. So what did I do? It was a kind of time blocking, but a more overarching time blocking, really. I started adding in all my events to begin with and all the meetings that I had booked into my calendar. And then I did write a list of all the general activities that I needed to do. So, for example, social media content creation, this podcast episode, brainstorming, structure, research, recording the podcasts. I wanted to launch the Female Business Club membership in March as well. I wanted to work on the Nice to Meet You networking tour that's happening in May. And I wanted to do business planning and strategy. I wanted to make sure that Q2 and the rest of the year was planned and I knew what I was going to do. So all these general themes that I wanted to work on. I had my calendar, I had all the meetings and things booked in already. And then I had this list of the general areas that I knew I wanted to work on in March. What I did then was assign a particular day to one of those areas. So rather than 30 or 60 minutes at a time, I assigned long periods of time to just one thing. And I did this for the whole month. So I've done it so that at least half a day is spent on one task. So half a day on social media content creation, half a day on email marketing, content and ideas, podcast episode structures, research and bullet points, recording this podcast, scheduling my social media, the business planning and strategy, and also I've launched a subscription box website. So I have created half a day where I've literally just gone into a general topic and said, okay, today I'm going to be focused on social media content creation. In my calendar for tomorrow might be, okay, I'm going to look at researching and creating a structure for the next few podcast episodes. I've got another day where I've got strategy and planning. So I've got general topics booked out into my diary. Now, obviously, during the day, I've also got things such as responding to emails, social media engagement, but I do these at certain times of the day apart from any urgent ones. I'm looking to create a certain time where I respond to messages, respond to emails, do my social media interaction and engagement. I'm doing those at certain times of the day, maybe when I'm having a break, having a coffee, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, I know that on any given day, apart from the meetings that I've got, I'm working on just one thing, and it's really helped. Now, I do also have meetings and appointments, but I do try and schedule these on the same days as each other. And then this leaves me whole days without any meetings scheduled in, so I can really get focused on one particular area, get in the zone, and have longer periods of time where I can really feel like I get stuck in. So what did I discover, and what will I be taking forward, going forward from April? And how has it worked better for me? So, like I said, not really groundbreaking, but wow, it's made a huge difference to how I felt during the month of March and how I'm feeling in April, particularly we've just come off Easter holidays as well. I managed to achieve much more than I really think if I'd just carried on with my to-do list or did a haphazard way of half an hour here, half an hour there. Now, there's still improvements I need to make, but in the main, I feel much more organised. I feel less all over the place. And in March, I felt like I achieved much more in my business. If I did spend 30 minutes or so scrolling or anything unexpected comes up for an hour, I know that I've got the rest of that day to continue working on that specific task rather than having to either redo my whole schedule because I'd created lots of different tasks throughout the whole day in the time blocking technique. And I also didn't feel like if I did spend 30 minutes doing something unexpected, that I've not achieved what I set out to achieve. I had a whole day. If something interrupted me when I was doing my social media, for instance, I had the rest of that day or that afternoon to catch up. So I felt like I did still achieve what I wanted to achieve. The biggest thing is that I have felt much more calmer. I felt much better in myself, and I have been super focused on one area, which means that I got into a creative mode for that one area. Sometimes when you are doing your social media, for instance, whether or not you're on Canva creating your graphics, if you're writing out the captions, whatever it might be, or recording your videos, sometimes if you spend, half a day or a day really focused in on that one thing, you get into the zone, you get into the creative mode, you get into the tone of voice of what you want to put across, and you can really get more done. And you know what? I also managed to have some coffee dates with some friends and business buddies. I was able to stop work sometimes in March when my teenagers came home from school without feeling like I still had loads of work to do. I could spend time chatting to them, running them around as a mum taxi, taking longer walks with Arlo on the nicer days. I felt like I had that better work-life balance because I had just created topics of days rather than half an hour here and half an hour there on different things. It was easier for me to get into the zone, to work through a particular topic and get things done throughout the day, meaning that I didn't feel guilty about stopping earlier. I didn't feel guilty about going out on a coffee date, having cake or going out for lunch or whatever it might have been. But I feel like I got through everything that I needed to get through, and that was the most important thing. And I feel like that in April as well. April with the Easter holidays has been a combination of time with the kids, time with the family, working, downtime. And I still feel like I've got lots done in April already. So what do you think of this new way of working? Is it something that you already do, or do you think it maybe could work for you? If you struggle with your time management or staying focused and achieving everything you want to, maybe try doing what I did in March and April. Try building in longer periods of time for general activities like I have to see if it works better for you. Now, I'd love to know what you think and whether or not you've tried it successfully. So please send me a message on Instagram. You'll find me at Female Business Network, or send me a message and let me know what you think. In my next episode, I have another lovely guest for you. Manaz Sharif helps women to build their business with purpose and boundaries. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking about this very subject together. So make sure you follow the podcast so you can be notified of the episode. And make sure you share this podcast with all your networks so I can help more female business owners with hints, advice and ideas to help them create that work-life balance that works for them. I hope you enjoyed today. Have a lovely rest of the day and bye for now.